everybody. Welcome to the Talking Disney Classics podcast. And this is the show where we talk about the Disney canon. And sometimes we talk about re-releases. It's very fun. And we celebrate the anniversary of a seminal work from the Disney studios. And that's what we're doing today. We're going to try something a little different. I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun. We are talking about The Lion King. It had celebrating its 30th birthday. And they're re-releasing it. And we both got a chance to see it. And this was a lot of fun. Thanks so much, Stanford, for doing this.
Thank you so much for including me, Rachel. I'm so excited to be on the podcast. So excited to talk with you about this movie. That is like so good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's one that just always moves me. It never fails to move me.
Agreed. And I've seen this movie a bunch.
Yeah.
And I love it every time.
Yeah.
I really never tire of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was, when it came out, I was just getting to that age where I was kind of aging maybe out of, or thinking you're too cool for, cartoons and everything. And even 13-year-old me, I was probably pretty jaded about almost everything at 13. Even me was won over by it in 1994. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very special film, and it was really fun to see it in this re-release.
I agree. I was just so happy to see it again on the big screen. I thought the print was beautiful, the projection was perfect, the sound was fantastic. I just loved it. A great experience.
Yeah, and it was really fun because I got to see it all by myself in the whole theater. It felt like I'm super rich.
Yeah, I had a private screening too.
Private screening.
Yeah, wasn't that fun?
I don't think that they didn't advertise this that well.
No, they haven't ever. I've seen maybe some. I saw it on social media. That's where that's where I heard about it, and I think maybe I saw a poster of it at the Megaplex, at Jordan Commons. But otherwise, yeah, this has not been promoted.
Yeah,
and which is kind of a bummer, but hopefully, those who are paying attention can go and enjoy it.
Yeah, and the people that were this guy online was saying, "Oh, it only made $1 million over the weekend," and I was thinking that seems pretty good to me for no publicity at all. It's certainly way better than any of those Pixar movies did.
Well, isn't that what like the cumulative was of the three Pixar
films?
Three.
Yeah.
So I thought it was good for them.
Yeah, I think that the recent re-release of Shrek 2 made $2 million, and I felt like that got a lot more of a publicity push.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I saw that a lot more. So, and it's kind of fun because I saw this last year as well.
I did too. With the Disney 100 film festival that they did, and there were more people in that screening. For me,
yeah. I'm like, they could just make this a yearly tradition. I'd go every year.
I'd be very happy. And I think too, I was just, it brought back such happy memories as well, but and also just like of a better time at Disney, that just the quality of the films. Was so much better.
Really was peak Disney. I don't think anyone will argue that. That was the Renaissance years. Maybe someone can make a claim for the golden age, those early years. But it was a very special time because not only did you have everything from Disney, but you also had, Toy Story, you had The Prince of Egypt, you had some really special films coming out during those 90s years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anastasia is one I love. And The Nightmare Before Christmas. There's just some really special animated films that came out in the 90s.
Yeah. Really a great period. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, what we decided to do for this tribute, because we've already done a whole episode on The Lion King in our initial run, what new could we kind of bring to the discussion to talk about The Lion King? And so what we decided is, since it's the 30th anniversary, we would each come up with 15 things that we love about The Lion King. And I tried, because you gave me your list early, so I tried to make my list as different as possible. So, we wouldn't just be talking about 15 things, we'd be talking about 30 things. This was a lot of fun. And I think if people like it, then this could be something we could try for a bunch of them, I think.
Count me in, Rach. Big
Yeah.
fun.
Yay. Well, let's dive in and let's talk about your first item that you had
Yeah,
picked.
and these are in no particular order, but my first thought was I just have always loved that the Lion King was like Disney does Shakespeare,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it works. It's not like, this is, maybe some people groaned about it, but I think overall it's really a beloved film, and I think one of the reasons why it does work so well is because it just is very Shakespearean. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's Hamlet, on
Mm-hmm.
the savannah, and um, it's it's
It taps into those like universal themes.
yes,
And there's like some stories that have just lasted forever because they do that. They tap into those universal themes that people always be able to connect with. And that's why something like Hamlet, is just always going to be relevant.
yeah,
And it's just very, very moving that they found a way to talk about some of these topics. And that's when Disney is at their best, when they can find a way to make a family film that doesn't shy away from the emotion. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of that too. But
and the
yeah,
human
it's
drama,
special. Yeah, the human drama.
the drama of
Mm-hmm.
it, yeah,
Yeah. But it's not, because it was a big thing in the 90s, these taking kind of classic stories, whether it was, Emma and Clueless or some really good ones, 10 Things I Hate About You, a lot of comedies, a lot of different, they were taking like but it's more of an homage, I would say, than like an
yeah,
outright, here's the beat, here's the
exactly.
beat, here's the beat that,
It doesn't. It has its own, yeah.
yeah.
Really takes its own path, but still, just the great kind of the conflict between Mufasa and Scar,
Mm-hmm.
and then Simba,
Mm-hmm.
the heir apparent, and all
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff, and then Mufasa's death, and all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That just feels like, so
And worried
so
you're gonna be judged by the people.
yeah,
What are they gonna think? How
yeah,
to
just
live your life, to be or not to be, kind of a thing. Those themes
yeah.
are all there.
It has so many of these, yeah, you said, just kind of these really timeless dramatic themes,
Mm-hmm.
but it works. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
grown fest by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it works.
Are you a fan of Rachel's reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night, or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
Well, my first item is kind of a backstory item. I kind of love that this movie was the B project, was the Bad News
Yeah,
Bears of
exactly.
Disney, was in Florida, wasn't the main Anaheim project. It didn't get Alan Menken. It didn't get, these big names behind it, the big name animators, that all went over to Pocahontas, and that they didn't have that much faith in it. And it's just it's like a true underdog story.
And then it becomes like the most successful film,
Yeah.
of the decade.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that's sort of an added layer to
I should
the
say
whole success.
Disney
It's
film
fun.
of the decade, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that too,
Mhm.
Rach.
Mm-hmm. So that was my first item. And so what is your next one you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things that I was just reminded of with this rewatch, just a few days ago was just how much I love the script.
Hmm.
The uh I put that it's witty, punny, and poignant.
Yeah.
I think that I never tire of the jokes. Like like Monkey's Uncle and you know and then of course I think one of my favorite lines is, Uncle Scarred, you're so weird, and then you have no idea. And uh news from the underground. I mean, stuff like that. That I just, with the gopher or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever animal he is, just stuff like that. Which I don't know. I really, I think that the script is a real winner. And again, part of it is because they're going for those timeless dramatic themes like we just talked about, but also they throw in humor. But again, it's 30 years, and also, I'm a lot older,
Yeah.
and I still laugh at the jokes. And still also am pleased by the witticism of it. I like it. I really
Yeah,
like the
the
script.
comic relief is so well done. It's you get it just enough to endear you to the characters, to have a break, and that it works, whether it's the hyenas being hilarious or of course, Timon and Pumbaa. And I mean,
Yeah,
when
and
you're a kid, Hakuna Matata is so funny. I don't know any kid that didn't like
I
just
just didn't
laugh.
love it. Just eat it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, my next one is actually my memory of the Incredible trailer,
Oh yeah.
which was
Absolutely.
just the opening sequence, and you watched it and just mouth agape. What?
Yeah. I mean, it's so gorgeous, and that trailer was so great. I believe it played in front of Aladdin,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, that would work. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just how excited everyone was
Hmm.
for that trailer. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's my next one. What do you have next?
Well, I love the voice cast so much. Uh, I think everybody is just fantastic, from Matthew Broderick, Whoopi Goldberg, to, Cheech
Hmm.
Martin, and then, you know, of course, James Earl Jones, Nathan Lane, it goes on and on. And I think really the MVP is Jeremy Irons,
Yeah.
uh, who is just the most delicious villain. And his vocal performance is just fantastic, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they're all but I
So
think
good.
everybody is good.
Just dripping with disdain. It's
Ah,
perfect.
they're so good. So yeah, I just love, I think that they're just great voice actors,
Hmm.
soup to nuts.
Yeah, and it was one of the earlier ones that had like a stacked celebrity cast. Of course, then you also had that in Toy Story that same year, and you had uh and it's not like they never had celebrities like Phil Harris, and different, celebrities over the years, but to have so many big names, was something that was a little bit new, and but it wasn't like when you see a Hotel Transylvania movie, for instance, where it's like all of these, Adam Sandler's buddies that you don't you don't need it. You don't need them. It's almost distracting that, it's like, oh, that's David Spade. That's,
Yeah,
as opposed to like really being needed for the voice
yeah,
and for the character. And in here, they match really well the character.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
I, I agree. And yeah, you maybe, and I don't remember how I felt back, back in the day about it, but just thinking, like, it's this stunt casting, like seems like it often happens with animated films these days. But this one, I think, no, the cast, just everyone delivers. I
Yeah.
think they're asked, they do what they're asked to do, and everybody's fantastic. It's,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Well, my next one, I know some people would call this cultural appropriation, to each their own, but I really appreciate that the movie uses Swahili quite a bit, and I'm not obviously Hakuna Matata, but throughout, of course, in the Circle of Life, and there's it throughout, and I think that's good for kids to hear other languages.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And get exposed to that and be curious about it, and so I like that they did that.
I do too. I do too. Yeah, I liked it a lot. And again, same thing with this last rewatch. I thought, oh, that's so cool. They incorporated.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Not everybody's speaking English all the time, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Especially, I mean, it's African story. Like, it does make it feel at least more authentic, to I'm sure there are people that would, wish it was like a true African story, and I can understand that, but I do appreciate that what they did include.
Yeah.
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 So what do you have next?
So the scene that always makes me cry is or just gives me chills, or just as I just sit there in awe of it, is when Mufasa appears in the clouds to adult Simba, and tells him to remember who you are, and all the other stuff that happens in that exchange. I mean, the message is so powerful. I lost my dad when I was in my early 20s, and so I just feel like too that resonates with me too, because I don't think I was necessarily as angry at my dad as Simba was, which I know we're gonna get into, but having just like this message come that way, and that also that how Rafiki is telling him that he lives in you. I just that resonates a lot. That just that whole thing I love, and I think that the animation is just sublime.
Yeah,
the way it's edited, and the way that they incorporate just kind of the moving clouds and Mufasa's personage. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Love it so much.
Yeah, that is the theme that will almost always work for me. The idea of getting to connect with somebody who's passed on, who you miss so much.
Yeah.
It is always something that, how you would feel. There was a Hallmark movie last year that called Take Me Back for Christmas, where she has kind of a It's Wonderful Life, Family Man kind of whatever moment, or just alternate dimension thing. And she's just been stuck in this grief for her mother died unexpectedly. And in this alternate dimension, she gets to spend time with her mom. And with the first time that she sees her mom, the actress did such a good job, because I mean, can you imagine how you would feel?
Yeah.
Like if you, you couldn't even, and it was, I thought, an excellent film. But anytime that I think a film can kind of tap into that longing, and that,
yes,
and the grief, and that all of those emotions, I think it's just so easy to connect to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Well, my next one is actually kind of similar, tied into the Swahili one. I really love Carmen Twilly, her vocals on Circle of Life. And the whole sequence is gorgeous, of course. And we'll talk more about that with one of yours. But I love her voice. And I think she gives a really wonderful performance.
Doesn't she, though?
Yeah.
I mean, she is so fantastic. And sorry, Rachel, I kind of went a little bit out of order, but I'm kind of glad we did, because that ties into really, and also with the trailer, just that Circle of Life scene is, I think, maybe the best opening scene of any Disney animated film.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything that can kind of compare,
so
compete with it.
Beautiful. The animation is so stunning. The music is so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much of it is because of Carmen, Twilly, if I'm saying her name correctly. I just, and the Swahili, just all the stuff you're mentioning, it's so cool.
Were you at D23 the year that they had the Lion King tribute? Or
I
was that when you were gone?
I don't think I was there. And if I
But
was there, I don't think I was in attendance.
well, she sang, and that was amazing.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think I would have remembered that. That would
Yeah.
have that was a
That
thrill.
was really cool.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, that was
amazing.
really, really, really cool. And just an incredible talent. And so I'm happy to have her in the Disney family. I'm trying to think like what would be my second place? What would be the best opening? That might be a fun episode. But to do
Yeah,
best opening, I mean, I guess Beauty and the Beast is pretty
I was
great
going to say
too.
Beauty and the Beast is I think
Uh-huh.
right up there in a different because of a different
Yeah.
way. And from Beauty and the Beast for me, I'd almost pick both the kind of the prologue with the stained glass and
Yeah.
and then the bell
And then the
number,
bell.
when
Yeah, the bell
you get
number.
both together. Uh because Bell, I mean, that's just the most amazing sequence too,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just yeah,
It
brilliant.
is really good. The only other one I mean, the opening sequence for Sleeping Beauty is also really
It's
great.
lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's got to be the best ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Let us know what you think. Which ones
I
you
know it'd
would
be
you
interesting
say? Let
hear
us
what
know.
your
I mean, the
fantastic
opening to
followers.
Little Mermaid is also really strong.
Oh,
Various
Fathoms
fathoms
Below.
below.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's
It's a
really good.
terrific opener. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, all right. Let's see. Did you just do yours or?
Yeah. I just did
Okay.
the Circle of Life one, but sorry, I just am a little
No,
out
you're
of order.
fine.
But I think we can get them lined up because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. All right. So my next one is actually I have Simba and Nala's friendship. Like
yeah.
obviously it becomes a romance, but I really like their friendship throughout from the very beginning. And then of course when she finds him again and they still have that connection. And it's really almost more a friendship story than it is a love story, which I really like.
They do have. I like their relationship a lot, and
Hmm.
sometimes I don't know. I kind of feel like sometimes when we meet characters when they're young,
Hmm.
sometimes maybe feels a little overused, but this one I think it really works. Because
Yeah.
they establish this. They didn't know. I mean, that they're betrothed, but still, that yeah, they've got this friendship, and I love how Nala pins him, and that's
Hmm.
how he realizes that it's her again. When
Yeah.
they get reunited.
Pinned you again.
Yeah, so great, so
Well, and
great.
then when Mufasa says, and what's worse, you put Nala in danger. And that
Yes.
that really means a lot
Oh,
to him.
seriously.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, well, what do you have next?
Okay. Well, I kind of wanted to get this aligned with you, and I guess, but almost it just kind of happens subliminally. But so sorry again that I'm messing up, but it's the be
Nope.
prepared sequence.
Yeah.
Uh I I mean, I think the musical numbers are really strong in the movie, but this one is one of my favorites so much because I think I mean, clearly, as we mentioned, Jeremy Irons' performance is great. The song is great. The animation is just fantastic, and
Hmm.
it's exciting, but to me, it's chilling
Yeah.
because you're watching what's happening. That he's Scar's becoming this fascist leader, and they represent that, with the marching hyenas and the way that they do the light and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, I'm not going to get political. I was going to say because there's some stuff we could maybe
Well, I
talk
mean,
about,
there's
but I won't.
definitely Nazi overtones to it.
Well,
I don't think
absolutely.
that's political to say, for sure. And the
It's
way
like
that
Adolf
he,
Hitler, it's Mussolini,
yeah, the way that he manipulates and controls them and is able to convince them to his side, by the end is very, very telling. I had like a slightly different kind of take on it for one of mine is particularly the use of color and shadows. I love the
hmm
green of it all is
hmm
really I think compelling, and especially when the hyenas are marching.
Yes.
It's good that we'll soon be protected from a king we can all time adore.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're there marching.
Yeah.
and there he is on top of the platform,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I also think that Jim Cummings does not get enough credit for singing the song. I mean, he did a huge portion of that song, and because I guess Jeremy Irons was sick or something was wrong, and so he was able to match Jeremy Irons' voice flawlessly. I mean, you would not know.
Isn't it amazing?
That was very impressive.
I mean, yeah, talk about, yeah, excellent work.
Because I don't think a lot of people know that wasn't actually Jeremy Irons singing for most of that song.
He sings some of it, right?
Some of
But
it,
not,
yeah, like the intros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The more talking parts. But I think the like singing parts, I think is Jim Cummings. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Wow, Seth. What a great sequence, and again, Rachel, I hate to bring this up, but I have to. So, I despise that 2019
Oh yeah.
CGI.
What were they thinking?
What a piece of junk. But and one of the many things that was terrible about it was they get to the be prepared sequence and they don't change the color palette. They're just like, well, we got to keep this realistic, photorealistic. So, there's not the color palette, there's not the Nazi march, there's not the big things of steam coming up that are all green, anyway, yeah, it's just like, are you kidding me? What's the be prepared sequence without all that stuff? It's not.
I mean, they weren't even going to have it at all. And I think they did it kind of much duress. And I don't understand that at all.
So bad.
It's bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Bad. Anyway.
But let's see. What do you have next?
Okay. So now I'm back on track. Fantastic character design. I just generally love Disney's animated animals, their features so much. And just to have a full-length feature just of all animals, there are no people in this movie.
Because we know you love animals.
Which I was just gonna say, isn't it ironic? Maybe I only like I only like animated animals, but then when it's like real life, I'm like, ew, yeah. But
No, I have on one of mine is so much emotion in the eyes and the faces, and that's of course what the new version missed is. There was no emotion in the eyes, especially.
Exactly.
I mean, when Simba tears up, oh my gosh.
Oh, well, and everything about all of them are so expressive. All the characters are so expressive, but Simba and Nala in particular, I think are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well,
yeah, it'll make you tear up.
Yeah. Yep.
So my next one is actually you talked about the voice work, but I have Rowan Atkinson as Zazu in particular.
So good. So good.
I love when he's singing, "Nobody knows the trouble I see."
That scene is so funny.
And then it's a small world after all. Anything with that. I've got the lovely bunch of coconuts here standing in a row. He's just so good in that role. Not the birdie boiler.
Yeah, Rowan Atkinson just same thing, just with all the voice cast. He just delivers.
Yeah,
brilliant performance.
I mean, it makes no sense. Why is there a Brit in the middle of this? Nobody else talks like it. But who cares? It's the same way with Sebastian. Who cares? He's Jamaican for some reason.
It just totally works.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, it works.
When you have a memorable performance, then people don't care about those kind of questions because they're caught up in it's like the whole thing when people say you only notice the boom mic in the shot in a bad movie.
Yeah. Exactly. This is the truth.
Yeah.
Well said.
What do you have next?
So I have I think the animation is gorgeous throughout the film. seeing it again on the big screen, and again, as we had mentioned earlier, saw it a year ago too, but I don't know, maybe it was because I was in a private screening, but I just saw sometimes I feel like at the Megaplex Theater in particular, that sometimes the projection is a little dim.
Yeah.
But not for this one. I just thought this movie looked so great, and it just showed off how gorgeous the hand-drawn animation in the film is.
Yeah.
It's just such a knockout from first frame to last frame.
The backgrounds are so beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, just as I mentioned, I love the character design so much, but I also just think the whole film is just beautifully done.
Yeah. And even like just a silly sequence like I Can't Wait to Be King is elevated by the incredible animation. Like I love that sequence how it's animated.
The use of color in that,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of the interesting design language they use, how they change to, kind of that fantasy thing is just, it's a knockout,
Yeah.
it's so much fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's so wonderful to be in the audience for this type of film.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Elise Murray and her exciting book, Society Girl. Set in the mysterious world of Oxford University's secret societies, Society Girl follows Sam, a duke's estranged daughter, as she attempts to join the most famous club of them all, the Animos Society. Her final initiation challenge is simple: find a man, convince him she's in love with him, and then break his heart in humiliating fashion. Hardened by her father's rejections, believing that the Animos Society is her key to his love and acceptance, Sam throws herself into making Daniel Best, her father's chauffeur and local musician, fall for her. But she never counted on falling in love with him right back. Fans of Colleen Hoover, Anna Hong, and Mia Sheridan will love Society Girl, a sweeping romance from bestselling novelist and screenwriter Elise Murray. Free for Kindle Unlimited users for a limited time. Go to elisemurray.com/novels/Society Girl for more information. Or you can use the affiliate link below. The next one is also about the voice acting, but it's a more subtle point. I think it is one of the best examples of combining different singers and voice talent seamlessly. You do not notice that almost every single vocal performance is not the same as the singing performance.
Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day when Disney did that a lot, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, I think literally, I think everybody that sings is a different, it's different
voice.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason why I separated Jim Cummings is because it's combined in that song, both voices, whereas the rest, it's just like totally separate. Like, and it's interesting because, we think of Matthew Broderick as being this Broadway person, but at the time, even he wasn't thought that way. So he's not doing his own singing. I mean, Nathan Lane does his own singing. But almost everybody else has a singer voice actress.
Yeah.
Which I just think is interesting. And that's what they would do they did it certainly in Mulan. They did in Aladdin, different singers.
Yeah, Pocahontas, at least for the lead role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I think they did a very good job with that, with us matching, so what do you have next?
Well, the next few are just going to be just things that I think are perfect. I think that the Hans Zimmer score is magnificent in this film. I think it's perfect and so moving. And I think that there was just so much, I think a lot of collaboration clearly, with this, but still, it was so epic. And almost, I remember, when I saw this first in 1994, I felt like one of the strong points of it was the music, because you don't often get that kind of a score in a Disney film. The kind of like the real epic movie soundtrack that you get, because not only do you get these really wonderful and catchy songs from Elton John and Tim Rice, which we'll get to, but It's just amazing, musical score.
Mhm. Well, and Hans Zimmer, he has such a great track record with animation that I think it's sort of underappreciated. That everything from Prince of Egypt, which is just absolutely beautiful score,
Yeah, it's a beautiful score.
to of course this to Spirit, Stallion Cimarron, that is an incredible score. Even the Kung Fu Panda movies, they're great scores. Rango has a great score. I mean,
Yeah,
he is just so good at these animated films.
agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like because he's done so many with Christopher Nolan, with something and then something like I know people love his Man of Steel score, things like that.
Yeah,
That I don't know, I just feel like people forget that he did these animated ones as well.
exactly.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have definitely had that if it hadn't been on your list for sure. It is. It. I don't know. I just feel like somehow it manages to be underappreciated.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next one is I have just about the tone. We talked a little bit about it already, but that it balances silly and profound so well. And Hakuna Matata is just so funny. And then you have this like gut wrenching, tense act. You have action, you have romance. I mean, the only moment that I don't think it works is the intro to Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I don't love that, but for the most part, it really does balance tone quite well, and that was totally unsuccessful in the new version in
Yep.
balancing tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's your next perfect?
Well, next perfect thing is I think that the songs by Elton John and Tim Rice, they're just perfect.
Yeah.
I think they're so good. I think they hold up so well. Again,
Yeah.
I just enjoy them just as much, last weekend as I did, 30 years ago. And
Hmm.
uh, I think that they are a really good duo. I mean, Elton John, as we know, writes a really mean pop song. Uh, and I just feel like Tim Rice's lyrics really match the witty script.
Hmm.
And um,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Tim Rice's work anyway.
Hmm.
I really think the work he did on Evita with Andrew Lloyd Webber is, you know,
Hmm. Of
excellent. And
course, Aladdin.
well, then yeah, that he comes in and helps out with Aladdin. And
Hmm.
anyway,
Hmm.
what a talent, and what a way with lyrics. I just think they're terrific, terrific.
Yeah, I agree. And it was kind of refreshing too because they bring a different sensibility than Ashman Menken
Yeah,
brought,
absolutely.
which is of course more the Broadway classical sort of more style, whereas this is more pop infused. It's just got a different style to it, which was refreshing, I think, for that time.
I think so too. Yeah.
Hmm. My next one is just the entire wildebeest stampede. It's
Oh my goodness.
unforgettable. The
Oh,
animation still holds up to this day. Uh,
it's amazing. Yeah.
you just wonder how do they pull it off. I
It still
can't
looks so
even.
good, doesn't it?
It looks so
It
good,
looks so good.
and all the different characters that you kind of have to be paying attention to, and of course, then you need the Hans Zimmer score probably the most there when he's got that choral
Oh,
lines, going
yes.
through it, and as everything's getting more and more panicking, and you see, and this was where again another spot where the new version completely failed. The difference between Simba's face watching
Yeah.
his dad, and then in this new one where it just there's no emotion. There's
There's
no emotion.
zero emotion. Yeah. That's coming out of
Hmm.
like, you just watched your dad fall to his death,
Yeah,
you know?
and
Uh,
and of course Scar. Long live the king. Yeah,
oh,
really
chilling. Get
good.
goosebumps every time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, 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 really good.
Yeah. And
So,
it's emotional. That's,
mhm,
I don't necessarily cry every time, but it gets me. It's the gut, it's a punch to the gut, every time.
mhm.
It's like, oh, this is so heavy, but
Yeah.
handled so well, handled
Mhm.
so well.
What do you have next?
Well, Rachel, one of the things that made me so shocked. I mean, because I've been a Disney fan for a lot of years.
Mhm.
But in 1994, when The Lion King became just the absolute unstoppable hit that it was back in the day, I was amazed and thrilled. That of all things, a Disney animated feature, and clearly Disney was on a roll because the films, were just brilliant. The Renaissance films, right? And I loved, of course, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, and then for The Lion King to be the one that's like truly the most successful, I just felt like it was really riding the wave of those excellent films, and people could, I think, moviegoers like got the picture, like, wow, good stuff's coming out of Walt Disney Studios right now. And it was such a huge box office hit. I think it had so much repeat business too. I was just surprised and delighted, and in a way, I still am. I don't necessarily know where it
Yeah.
falls.
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to my first one, sort of this it being sort of
Yes.
Bad News Bears
Yeah,
of Disney,
absolutely.
and then this underdog story and coming out to be one of the most successful films ever made and released.
Yeah.
So my next one, I like the idea that Simba is presented with a different way to live.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that it's a good thing for kids to think about, that there's lots of these different ways to live, and what makes like a valid life, because Timon and Pumbaa aren't bad people.
No,
and
they're just choosing a different way to live.
Yeah, you're just choosing, even the way they eat, the way everything is different, and he's presented this different, and it's the Hakuna Matata life, and throughout anybody's life, you're presented with different ways to live, and you have to decide what you want to do with your life, and that's what Simba kind of is at a point where he has nothing else, and then he's presented this way to live, and so kind of out of necessity he picks this way and then comes to believe in it, and it's not until he gets knocked on the head by Rafiki that he decides to go, and it is time, and take your place. And no, I just think that's a helpful theme for everybody to think about in their life.
Yeah, I that's a great point. And I love this. Simba's got such a great character arc, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, because it's not like he's, like chastising Timon and Pumbaa, right? For the way that they're choosing to live, but he's got this birthright and other stuff going on, that he's, and kind of like a sense of duty that he gets reawakened to. But
it's kind of like that talk that, and there's, what do they say? There's good things, great things, and the best things.
Yes,
or something of that.
Good, better, best.
Good, better, best. That's right.
Yeah. Good call.
In life, and it can be harder. It can take some guts to go for the best things.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
So I find it just so satisfying, that final battle that Simba and Scar have on top of Pride Rock. And then when Scar gets defeated and Simba takes his place again on Pride Rock and does the roar, and they're all doing all the lions are doing the roar. I just find that so incredibly satisfying. I think maybe the first time I saw it made me cry.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me cry as much anymore. I just think it's awesome.
It's
just like,
so well done because he still, when it first starts, he thinks, oh, he's still being manipulated by Scar. And this was my fault. He's taken the responsibility of it. And, his mom can't believe it and says, no, that can't be. And that whole, and so the journey kind of his character goes on, murderer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really, really good.
Great scene. Great sequence. Yeah.
My next one is where Simba forgives his dad. And we talked a little bit about it, but just you promised you'd always be there.
Yeah.
And I think themes of forgiveness are always going to be themes that work really well for me. That I don't know, it's just such a I don't care what religion, everybody has to forgive in life. No matter who you are. We all have our wounds. And he certainly has Simba has wounds. And he resents his dad for leaving him. You promised you'd always be there, but you're not. And so that whole scene we talked about, he lives
rips your heart out, doesn't it?
It's so good. The past does hurt, but you take away your stick.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful scene. So what do you have next?
So got a couple music ones, which first one is back to Elton John. I think that Elton John, speaking of the movie, being a huge hit, the soundtrack was a giant hit.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we were buying albums, or compact discs, and I had a copy of that album. I listened to it a lot. That the soundtrack, because it had, of course, all the songs from the film, and then some of the Hans Zimmer score. It also had a couple of pop versions that Elton John recorded, and they're also ones that play. I think it's I think it's "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" that plays during the end credits, if I'm not mistaken. But "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" and "Circle of Life," I love those pop versions.
Yeah,
I think they're fantastic. So anytime I would hear them on the radio, because "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" I think was also a big radio hit. The Elton John cover of it, and I mean, cover of his own song, but still,
I mean, if you were the only one voting, which one would you give "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" the Oscar? Or "Circle of Life"?
Well, frankly, I would give the film version of "Circle of Life" the Oscar.
Agreed. Me too.
But I love Elton John's pop version of "Can You Feel the Love Tonight." I love it. I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I almost always would give the sort of more upbeat song the Oscar over the ballads. That was the thing during this time, was to get the ballads.
The ballads. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But like I would give "Friend in Me" from Aladdin. That would be my pick. They did give, I think they give "Under the Sea." I think that one won, right?
I think "Under the Sea" did win.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So they did pick the more upbeat one. But I love "Be Our Guest." I think I would over "Beauty and the Beast." I mean, they're all so great. But I don't know. I just they almost always gave the ballads during this time period.
Interesting. Yeah.
I would give I mean, actually, did the songs from Mulan win? No. I don't think they did.
I don't think they did, Rach.
Yeah, something else won that year.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, what won that year? I'm going to look that up real quick.
It wasn't Reflection, was it? I don't think it was. I don't think.
Was it, was it Prince of Egypt? I think it might be Prince of Egypt song.
Oh, that
won that year. Yeah.
Was it "When You Believe" or was it another?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
was Prince of Egypt. Yeah, 1998. So yeah, it was When You Believe, which is a great song.
Which is a gorgeous song. Oof.
But I'd pick. I would pick if you were going to do one from Milan. I would pick "They Make Man Out of You" over "Reflection."
That's such a great
Personally.
song.
But there, it's so many good songs. But
Such good stuff.
yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Where am I on my list? Okay. So my next one is, I talked a little bit about it, but the emotion in the eyes and faces.
Yes.
Yeah. So good. So moving. I love how the eyes are just a slightly different color of yellow than the rest. It just really makes them pop. So you just notice the eyes and all of that emotion in the eyes.
Rachel, I felt this way last weekend. I'm in awe of the emotion that can be pulled, that can be done through an animated drawing.
Yeah.
And it almost in a way just feels like it's magic, how they're able to do it and how well the animators did it on this film.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're so incredible.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have next?
Well, so still just following the music theme. I don't know if you remember that there was an album. I mean, because of course, The Lion King, because it just blew up the way it did. Disney came out with another album called The Rhythm of the Pride Lands, and this album is absolutely fantastic. And a lot of the music that was used on it influenced the Broadway musical, which we'll get to just in a sec. But it highly recommended. If you haven't heard The Rhythm of the Pride Lands, find it on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever your streaming service is, and have a listen, because it's just, again, it's just music. It's music influenced by the film, and it's a delight.
Mm-hmm.
It's a delight.
Yeah, it's really good.
I think that one of the artists' name is Lebo M, if I'm not mistaken, and he is an African musician. And again, his music, I think, really greatly influenced the creative team that did the Broadway show.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, I want to bust it out again. This week, I love the Rhythm of the Pride Lands album, which is, again, just kind of a second album that came out after the popularity of the film.
Yeah. Well, my next one is kind of more about going with that comic relief, but I do really love the creative diversion sequence. What do you want us to
dress and drag and do the hula?
Dress and drag and do the hula. Are you aching for some bacon? It's so
best.
funny.
That is the best gag.
Yeah.
And Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella don't just,
Yeah. And again, it kind of speaks to what I'm talking about, where it does such a good job of balancing tone.
Yes.
Giving that, comic relief, so it just doesn't feel, it's not, as opposed to A Hunchback of Notre Dame, which fails terribly at mixing the lighter and darker and lighter and darker. This succeeds so much better than that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That is such a fun, I love that part. And then I also love when Rafiki does like his Bruce Lee martial arts. Again, I just think it's such a great gag that had it been, with the I don't know, lesser filmmakers, it might have fallen flat on its face, but this really, really works. It's so fun, so much fun. Good call.
Yeah, and then the comic relief for the hanging is really good too.
Oh, absolutely.
Ed, again, Jim Cummings,
another Jim Cummings, and I love too how, I mean, sorry, I don't mean to get off topic, but how in the very end, when the hyenas are going to eat Scar, Ed's all for it. The way, and I love it because he's not necessarily as goofy. He's like more, intent on finishing the task. That's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. So what's your last one?
Well, my last one is that I I think that the way, I mean, there were so many offshoots of this, given the success, lots of cheapquels and different things, which frankly I didn't love. I mean, I didn't necessarily hate them, I didn't love them, but I think one of the really, really great works of art that came out of this film was the Broadway musical.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the most magnificent thing. And here it is. I mean, how many years has that show been going? And it's still running strong and still
Yeah.
has, touring companies
Yeah.
and productions all around the world. And it's because it's so beautiful. It's just Julie Taymor, and her and her artistic team, and Disney had the guts to do it too. I think I remember reading some stuff about it back in the day, and that they were willing to take a chance on something really quite avant-garde.
Because I don't think people had ever seen puppets like that, the way that they were done.
And the aesthetic and the artistry of it, and again, some of the new music that was added, which again, listen to the Rhythm of the Pride Lands album, and you'll kind of hear some of that. But I remember it getting rave reviews. Sometimes when a show gets rave reviews, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I need to see it myself, to make up my own mind. And this is one of those shows that did not disappoint. I think my jaw was dropped the whole time I saw it the first time.
Do you think it is the strongest of the adaptations, or would you pick Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, I think as far as stage productions, Lion King, hands down. I don't hate the Beauty and the Beast thing, by any means, but honestly, to me, that feels more like just like a theme park show, which I don't mean as a negative thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, those two are by far the best of the Disney Broadway. And then I would probably actually say Newsies next. And then
Newsies is so good.
Yeah,
I quite like Frozen, actually.
I agree about Frozen. It's a little boring, but I do think they had some beautiful new songs, and it added quite a bit. Like Monster.
Yeah, really good.
And there's some really cool visuals in Frozen, the way they do and an incredible dress change, a big reveal. They really make Let It Go pay off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I'd have Frozen pretty high. I actually think the adaptation of Hunchback I'm actually seeing it this week again. I think that is also another one that elevates
Ed Murray.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm going next week.
You've never seen it, right?
Compare notes. I've never seen the stage production of it.
I'm going to be reviewing it for UTBA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I've got one of my friends is in the chorus, and so I'm going to go. I'm just going to go give some support. But
yeah, because I mean, I'm very hit and miss with those Disney, Broadway. I hate the Mary Poppins famously. I really don't like that.
I didn't love Mary Poppins. There was a lot I liked about Aladdin, but I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I didn't love
I do
Aladdin.
think that one benefited from the fact that they had those Ashman songs left over.
No question.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed. I thought that the staging was fun, and I also liked some of the additional characters. I liked Aladdin's three friends and stuff. I thought in that particular setting really worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not one of the best, just not one of the worst.
Right.
It's like right there in the middle. I agree. I do have Shadowlands and the Puppets on my list as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. In particular, I mean, that song Shadowlands is just so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And again, just the way it's staged, it's just magnificent. It's magnificent. Oh, yeah. The lionesses. Oh, my stars. So good. Yeah.
And when you watch because I remember when I first saw it, this was way back in 2006 when I saw it for the first time on Broadway. And I remember talking to my aunt about it, and she's like, "Oh, but you kind of knew the whole story, right?" But like, that's true. But the spectacle of it was just so new and so fresh. Yeah. So those puppets and everything, and that it felt like an entirely new experience.
Yes.
But then also just these songs like Shadowlands it felt new.
Yeah, Shadowlands, I love, He Lives in You, which is also on the Rhythm of the Pride Lands. Sorry, I'll let that one go. But it's I
And-
think. Oh, go ahead.
No,
please.
I was just going to say I've never seen it, but I've heard that Festival of the Lion King in Disney World in Animal Kingdom is really
Yeah,
great.
it's really great. It's that one's theater in the round, and they've got a lot of puppets and a lot of stuff going on, like puppets and stuff coming on, kind of on and off the stage in a way that it's reminiscent of the Broadway show. Because that's, I think, one of the things that really wowed me too is when the Circle of Life starts, and they've got like an elephant and a giraffe in puppet form. I mean, with puppeteers going down the middle of the aisle in the theater, and you think this is so cool. This is so cool. Because again, there's such great artistry to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but yeah, I agree. It's a cool show at Disney World for sure. I'm glad it's still running.
Yeah, I just haven't been to. I've only been to Disney World once, and that was when I was 12.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah,
that was before The Lion King came out.
Right before The Lion King came out.
When they still had MGM Studios. That's how long it's been since I went.
Yeah, before they changed the name. Yeah.
But I'd like to go one of these days, but I always end up just going to Disneyland because it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of my park,
Yeah, and there it is. It's a lot closer.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I asked on, did you finish all? Yeah, you finished all.
Yeah, all done. I think we both finished. Yeah.
Well, so I asked on Twitter, what do you love most about The Lion King? And I got a bunch of responses.
Yay.
MC Myers says, I'm not a huge fan. I know, but the instrumental score is a standout part of it for me, particularly the Stampede and Mufasa's ghost and James Earl Jones, of course. Jack Valjack says, the scene where Simba meets Rafiki is my favorite scene in an animated film. So that. Sinesia says, it went there. It showed the father's death and the son's grief. Even though it was animated, it was still powerful, showing that even an animated movie has got it all. I don't know how you say even an animated movie.
Yeah.
Of course. Toon Meyer says, the gorgeous animation, the inspiring score, the fun music, the beautiful story. It's the combination of so many perfect parts that make it great. So it's difficult to choose one thing I love most. Then we have CM Waters, who is a notorious defender of the live action. He says, Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance. Oh, wait, my bad. I just can't wait to be king. It's his favorite. Nostalgia Cast says it's a brilliant way of telling a mature. Nostalgia Cast Darren says it's a brilliant way of telling a mature, borderline inappropriate story for children by dramatizing it with talking animals so that it feels appropriate. Disney tried telling an equally adult story with humans in Hunchback 2 years later and kept having to backtrack. I think that's true.
Good point. Yeah,
Peter Son says, I guess the aesthetic of the sweeping vistas. And he says, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the first few Disney Renaissance movies that preceded it, particularly Beauty and the Beast, but also Aladdin and The Little Mermaid. Paul Klein says, for me, it's the story. It's a film aimed at families and it's about talking animals, but it addresses the idea of loss, the notion of denial and of actualization. It takes its emotions seriously in a way that a lot of modern family films don't. Richard Southworth, he says, it's such a powerful film, not just the emotional power of the story and its themes of responsibility, accepting the past and the mortality of those we love, but the enormous scale behind the action, environments, and music. SRC Put says, Hans Zimmer's score does a great job in setting the mood right from the beginning with his changes to the opening of Circle of Life. Listen to Elton John's version of the song and then the version in the movie to hear how valuable Zimmer was. CC Takato says, I love the characters, which are still timeless, and the animation and music are still the best. Mike K says, without saying everything, I'd say that music played as much a part in its success as the animation. Shore says, the part where Scar gets thrown off Pride Rock, how dare he do that to Mufasa and Simba? Jared Jacoby says, I love the perfect balance of dark and lighthearted moments in the movie. This movie has one of the most effective tones ever because each emotional and humorous beat are timed perfectly. Also, it is less than 90 minutes and the story never feels rushed.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Great comments from your
Yeah, so
great
many good
followers.
So yeah, make sure that you're following me on Twitter because I like to put these out and get everybody's thoughts. And there was many more that I could read. But this has been a lot of fun. And let us know what you think of this concept. If you'd like it for some of our other favorites, it might be fun to do and to do episodes kind of similar to this. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think and what you would pick and what you think of our picks. And thanks so much, Stanford, for doing this.
Thank you so much for including me, Rachel, and how fun to see this wonderful movie. Go see the theaters, people, while you have the chance. Go, go, go.
Yeah. And if people want to follow you, how do they do that?
So I've got a movie podcast. It's called Movies Past and Present. You can find me on the internet, moviespastandpresent.com. I'm also on Instagram at moviespap.
Great. And I mean, you can follow us at Disney Talking on Twitter, and you can find me all over social media at Rachel's Reviews, all over the place, and on rachelsreviews.net and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also check out the Hallmarkies podcast for more there. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. Make sure to check out our playlist with all of our Talking Disney episodes. We're getting real close to 100. It's going to be very exciting. So make sure to take a look at that. And also check out the Patreon group. That's the biggest way you can support us. And the merch store where you can get #Animation Junkie shirts. And I'm an animation girl. Take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.